What's going on, guys? I wanted to make this video because it's a subject that pops up every once in a while. On my main channel, Some Black Guy, I don't even think I've addressed it. I don't think I made a video about it. And now that I have this channel, I thought it'd be appropriate. And it's an interesting kind of manifestation of how it happened. And you know, I've always hear people say that, yeah, it's cool, man. I love seeing black people that are into metal. I wish more black people are into metal and stuff like that. And I understand where they're coming from. I get the sentiment because it's obvious that it's not something that is cultural, you know, especially in I know in the United States, like in black culture and hip hop culture, those things kind of, you know, have the most overlap. And then say there's just little sprinkles here and there in the black community of like that got into metal. And me, like the reason how I got into metal, and it's funny, it's and the reason why I'm wearing this shirt, it's because of the 1995 Mortal Kombat film. It sounds silly, and I think most people remember the Mortal Kombat film having like a lot of like techno and stuff like that. People remember the main song, the theme song and everything like that. But you know, I love Mortal Kombat. I love that film. You know, the choreography still holds up. You know, I don't mean the film as a whole is like really good, but the choreography, if you're looking for some good fighting, it still holds up even to this day. And I bought the soundtracks. I even bought the soundtrack to Annihilation, even though that's an absolute trash film. But there was always techno and metal and punk and stuff in those soundtracks. And the thing that specifically caught my ear was the fight between Scorpion and Johnny Cage.
Welcome!
That riff by Fear Factory stuck with me. That, like, it infected me because number one, Scorpion was my favorite and Johnny Cage was my favorite, and then seeing them fight and then that music was going on and I'm just like, this is the most intense thing that I've ever heard, you know, and I was 7 years old. And so that was kind of the catalyst. So essentially Mortal Kombat has always made me hungry for heavier riffs, and I didn't do much searching, especially the internet was absolute trash around that time. You know, the fucking dial-up, I mean, come on. Like, I didn't have time for that shit. Maybe I did have time, but I just didn't want to use my time. I'd rather play video games or something like that. Now, the interesting thing is, as the time went on, I started to get a little bit more into hip-hop, you know, because it was just so much on the radio and on TV and everything like that. But then there were like little spurts here and there, like say one of the biggest things was seeing System of a Down, you know, obviously Chop Suey, and then hearing Spiders after that. It was in reverse. I heard Chop Suey before I heard any of their original stuff like Sugar and Spiders. And then I remember one really important thing was hearing Papa Roach on the radio. It was my stepsister's boyfriend. We were in the car for whatever reason, and we were listening to hip hop at first, and I remember Like Whoa by Black Rob was on there. Fucking love that song, still love that song. And then he didn't like hip hop, so we changed it to K-Rock, and then Last Resort was on. I heard that iconic riff, and it was just like little things like that were starting to build. And then of course, one of the biggest turning points was, and you know, a lot of people will give Disturbed shit, but they have a place in my heart. Always, I still dig them, you know, even though a lot of people criticize them from sounding absolutely the same. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I can still fuck with them. They're responsible for a huge jumping point. So obviously the Sickness was something that was like, holy shit, man, this sounds really fucking intense. I like this a lot. Now I may be getting the timelines mixed up just a little bit, but it's all relatively around the same time period. Because one thing that just absolutely just warped my mind is Mudvayne's LD50. I imagine it did the same for a lot of you people, but that was one of those things where I'm like, this is so heavy, holy shit, what is this? This is on MTV. And then of course Slipknot's Iowa. Like, I've heard things here and there, like say Wait and Bleed, and something that kind of just passed me up. I didn't really hear too much from the self-titled album. I remember one of my friends like going on and on about Slipknot in 6th grade when I think the self-titled came out. And I kind of just skipped over it. I wasn't really paying attention to what he was saying, you know. And then it wasn't until like, fucking, dude, like Iowa, to this day, I gotta say, if I had a top 10, Iowa, it would probably be on that list. Iowa is definitely one of those albums I still listen to today. Slipknot is still just absolutely drove me to like, there's no looking back. We're going full force into metal. Like, I still like hip hop. I still listen to hip hop a lot. Back in the day, I was very like keen on being like a rapper and stuff like that. but that completely, that like Disturbed, Mudvayne, Slipknot, just like that train completely knocked that out. Now I've done rapping, some hip hop here and there. I actually, in 2013, I started to put together a little EP. Actually, the previous year I was in a hip hop group, so I still like doing that shit on the side, but my main passion has always been instruments, screaming, you know, fucking the metal, guitars, drums, all of that good stuff. So pretty much by the time I got to high school, I was still into the new metals, you know, obviously Korn, I didn't mention Korn, Limp Bizkit, all that stuff, a little bit of Linkin Park. I was even into Godsmack at the time, you know, those fucking Navy commercials.
Navy, accelerate your life. Call 1-800-USA-NAVY.
Say again?
But then slowly I started to get more into metalcore. You know, I discovered Killswitch Engage, and while Jesse was still in the band, and he was someone that got me a little bit more into hardcore because of his like lyrics, the stuff that he would write, the unity, the love. I remember Vide Infra was one of my favorite songs because of like just how much it spoke to me. And then Howard Jones joined the band, and then it was one of those things that it's so cool to see like this huge black dude with this just commanding, this opera voice, just killing it. It was so cool to see that, you know. I'm not always about like say, oh, we need diversity and all this stuff, but obviously when there's just like someone like me that doesn't see very many black people in metal, it was kind of like, holy shit, look at this guy. You know, I wasn't aware of him. Obviously people in the New England area were aware of him, but then like say people worldwide became aware of him and how awesome Howard is. And Howard's still killing it to this day. Right now he's in his band Light the Torch, and guys, I fucking love that album, especially the song God That I Deserve. But I digress. I stayed on the metalcore train for quite a while. Bleeding Through was one of my favorite bands. Unearth, just Shadows Fall, and all bands like that. There was pretty much a lot of bands that played similar types of riffs. Darkest Hour was probably one of my top favorites alongside of all those people. But then I had my friend Brock. He changed the game for me. He started to show me stuff that like I wasn't into, and I couldn't really even fathom the music because I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't on that level. Dude mostly showed me all these bands from California, some local, some of them in the Bay Area. He showed me The Taste of Blood. He showed me Elijah. He showed me Animosity. He showed me The Faceless, and much, much more. And like, these just made my head explode with holy shit, this is so heavy. This is so technical. There were so many different like versions and flavors and just so much more than what I was normally used to hearing. And that's essentially where I just kept going. Something I kind of forgot to mention, in between the transitioning to metalcore to deathcore and death metal and all that stuff, I was still listening to melodic death metal. Like I think Amon Amarth, At the Gates, and the Black Dahlia Murder, bands like that are still pretty much to this day one of my favorite genres. I think I love just melodic sounding stuff. I love like just things that kind of just touch you, not just pure heavy. Like there's always a time and day for just heavy fucking just slam and stuff like that. But then if you can just really speak to me with some beautiful sounding melodic riffs, like that's the best shit, man. You can't go wrong with that. Pretty much the only thing that changed after high school around those periods where I discovered all those bands is that I just started listening to more like hardcore and melodic hardcore, just faster stuff, and then gang vocals. Like that's still kind of my favorite stuff to listen to. Just put that on real quick, just things that are just really intense. And but I still listen to just a myriad, just pretty much everything surrounding metal. And there really isn't much that I like don't listen to anymore. Like say there's a lot of people that say, oh, I can't believe I used to listen to this, new metal is so cringy and shit like that. I'm like, I don't know, man. That stuff still has like a place in my heart. I can still listen to Mudvayne, I can still listen to Disturbed and some songs from Godsmack and whoever, and I'd be like, you know, there's some good musicianship here, and there's a reason why these people got so popular. Now people always ask me, do I ever get shit for liking metal? And the short answer is not really. I mean, growing up, I wasn't exposed to this like huge divide, especially because I grew up in a mostly Hispanic neighborhood, so most of my friends, you know, it's just when it comes to like Mexicans, they can pretty much be into anything, you know, or just like kind of like you can, like, some of my friends were into metal and punk, and then you had some other people that's into hip hop and the cholos and all that stuff. It was just like, it's all good, it didn't really matter. Now I'm sure in their communities there's some people that maybe throw some shade here and there, but it wasn't like, say, the stigma of being black where it was like really weird. It was like a unicorn, it was like a diamond in the rough. It's like, holy shit, look at this black dude that's in the metal. Like, I never really heard my Mexican friends getting shit like that or anything in any way, shape, or form. And I wouldn't even say getting shit, just being acknowledged like that. But the thing is, even though it was acknowledged mostly and people would bring it up, it was mostly, I would say, over in the 90% positive. People were chill with it. They're like, oh, it's really cool that you're a rocker, or that you're a punker, or a metalhead, whatever the people would say. It was always just love, you know, people liked that uniqueness about me. And it wasn't anything like I wasn't trying to be unique. You know, I was just like the guy that liked band tees and a pair of jeans, and I would wear some shitty shoes, whatever, skating shoes, whatever the hell shoes I had. And then I was just me, you know. I wasn't really trying to fit in with any crowd. When I would hang out with my punk friends, I still dressed the same, you know. When I would hang out with my bro friends, I liked to party, and, you know, they all had their lifted trucks. I still dressed exactly the same. Some of them thought that I was a punker just because I had like a band t-shirt on, and I'm like, I don't know, man, I don't have fucking skinny jeans or a mohawk or anything like that, so, but it is what it is. One thing that's interesting about black metal musicians is that we tend to flock to each other. Because we're aware. I mean, people in the metal community, you know, they do that anyway. You know, it doesn't really matter about the color, but like, say if you're in like school or something, you're in a university or anything, usually you'll see somebody wearing a specific shirt, or you'll see someone and you're kind of like, oh, I'm most likely gonna get along with this person. I actually remember I was living in Arizona, I was living in Phoenix at the time, and I started working for Amazon. And, you know, me just probably wearing some band tees and probably wearing a flannel or something like that. And then I saw this guy all fucking covered in tattoos, and he was wearing like, I was just like, okay, this guy's kind of into psychobilly, rockabilly. You can tell he's kind of into that shit. And then we like kind of flocked to each other. And that dude was like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what race he was. He was like some type of Indian, Mexican. He was something. But we knew we hit it off. And so just amplify that, you know, maybe times it by 10. When you see like a black dude at the show and another black dude, there's usually some sort of acknowledgement or something like that. And, you know, one of the reasons why I even got into the band that I was in, We Are The End, which I've mentioned a few times, you guys know there's been some controversy and stuff like that, was because I was playing the song Take This Oath by Killswitch Engage, you know. I was playing it at the Guitar Center, and then this dude Brandon, he's black, came up and he was like, hey, it's Killswitch, blah blah blah. We chopped it up and we exchanged numbers, and then all of a sudden, you know, I ended up auditioning or something as the drummer, and then the band blew up to a certain extent, you know. And there were some talented people that were behind it, but I'm just saying that like it was really interesting how that manifestation happened. Like, say, you know, if I were a white dude just playing some Killswitch, would he have acknowledged me? Would he have walked up to me at all? Probably not. He probably just thought, because I wasn't playing anything super impressive. I just think that it was just cool to see a black dude just riff into some metal, you know what I mean? And I do the same thing, you know. It's just like, say, when I see like when I saw Seven Dust for the first time, and I was like, Lejean is like the shit, man. Like, this guy's amazing. I fucking love his dreads. And then just Mike Terry, that was in Bury Your Dead for a while, even though I preferred like the hardcore era of Bury Your Dead. Mike Terry was doing his thing, and then now Mike Terry is in Volumes. I'm like, that guy's dope. I actually just recently had a talk with Doc Coyle, which obviously I looked up to him and his brother Dallas and Byron and Corey, all those dudes, and God forbid, I was like, dude, this is some cool ass shit, man. Like, I love seeing this. I love seeing these talented motherfuckers that just don't have to like pretend like they should just be into a certain genre or fit into a certain box. Like, I really appreciated that, and it was something that just gave me like, you know, like a little bit of community, and like, say, to not feel weird about it, even in those small little moments that when somebody would kind of say something, it would just make me kind of deflect it, or I'm like, they don't fucking matter, you know. I'm just gonna do what I love. I'm gonna be in these metal bands. I'm just gonna like listen to whatever the fuck I want to listen to. Well, I'm sure there's a lot more I could say on this subject. I probably can talk for hours about it, and maybe I'll do a part 2 and include other things that I've missed, or maybe I'll even have other musicians come in here. You know, I know a handful of black musicians that would be cool to have a conversation with them. If you know me from my main channel, you know that I don't typically care about like identity and like specifically identity politics, where everybody's so like just fixated on saying I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm this, you need to respect this and this and that. I'm like, whatever. However, there's always exceptions, like when it comes to this subject. It's like, oh yeah, there isn't very many black people in metal, and then it's cool when you do see black people in metal, because it's like, hey, you don't normally see it. And I feel the same way when it comes to like, say, things with gender, like say when I see women jumping in the pit.
There's a bitch in the pit!
Like, it's like, holy shit, you know, she's fucking bad, you know, like stuff like that. You think it's cool because you don't see it so often. And so I think it's the same thing. I don't think it's about like, you know, oh, this, like, I'm black and look at me. It's just like, oh, doesn't happen very often. It's cool when it does. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little rant and whatever the fuck else I was talking about. I'll have some other videos out pretty soon. Make sure you subscribe, like this, and share this if you dug it. And yeah, it's time to get some food.